It's the same old story. It's been a long day at the job, or maybe it's just starting to feel long, and you feel that urge to stretch your legs and get a little bit of a break. You walk down the street, or maybe you get behind the wheel of your car, and you feel the weight begin to lift. You walk through the doors, and the sound of the place starts to clear the air. You get a table, you order your drink, you listen to the sounds of the bar, and soak in the conversation. Welcome to the T&E Speakeasy with your hosts, Caleb and Isaac. Listen in as they discuss the 1986 film, Night of the Creeps. Isaac, I can't believe it. It's another year, another Halloween at the bar. These years, they're just, I don't know, they're flying by like hotcakes. They're flying off the shelves. These years, they're flying out of my life. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I've been drinking too much this year. I don't know.
Perhaps a video that I watched a few months ago would lighten the mood about a time of when the Earth was in its Silurian age, with giant mounds of eukaryotic columns, basically, and the fish of past roamed the Earth, and an AI-generated Christopher Lee was narrating the whole thing with the alien isolation score going around, or going through it, and it was actually pretty cool. So, really,
oh my god,
I think that's a really good history lesson there. I mean, I guess it's horrifying there, and leads us into this Halloween, ladies, gentlemen, those between, and unaffiliated. Welcome tonight to the Speakeasy. Caleb, what is the theme for these next 4 weeks?
Oh, yes. I guess if it's Halloween time, that means I have been back down in the basement. We have been doing some anime in there lately, so I've been redecorating. I've been trying to plan together a little Halloween series this year. I don't have any skits prepared. My Count Spookula, or whatever I did last year, I've left that in the closet.
Same with my bad acting.
Well, no, that'll come out later.
Oh, brother.
I don't know. But, yeah, and I guess because we've been opening up with some laughs here, let's keep the laughs going as we start off this new Halloween series called Screaming with a Smile. I always have to get my stupid names in there somewhere. But this is inspired by last year, us doing Night of the Comet on the Prognosis Negative feed with Eric and Sean. I thought, hey, Isaac enjoyed some 80s horror. I know Isaac's always had a long reputation of disliking the modern 80s fetishization, but there was some classic 80s stuff in there, some classic 80s comedy horrors that you missed out on that I thought you might enjoy. And when I saw how much you responded to Night of the Comet, I was like, hey, maybe I got a couple of these that I'll put in my bag and see if you like some more of these fun movies that I haven't seen in a while. And the one we're starting with today is Night of the Creeps.
Glad you found a theme.
Yeah, and as everyone knows, Night of the Comet did come out in the previous Monday, so it's kind of a kickoff. I decided to re-upload that, and me and Isaac have talked about redoing that discussion at some point, but I imagine it won't be part of this series, because I don't know if we'll have time. But maybe in 2026, we'll try to put that together. But, yeah, Isaac, how are you feeling? Are you excited to kick off this series? I don't know. What's your kind of general outlook on 80s horror at the moment?
I mean, The Thing, 2 Lucio Fulci films, third one still to be released at some point, with the 2 players that are still needed for that. I've seen From Beyond, which was nuts. No, yeah, They Live. Would that be... Yeah, I'm not really too sure about that.
Yeah, kind of an action horror infusion. Yeah, a little bit of paranoia film in there too. But it's funny you mentioned that actually. That movie fits into the same theme that this movie, Night of the Creeps, and Night of the Comet all fall under, which is that kind of 80s, almost actually an 80s fetishization of the 1950s B movies. This movie and Night of the Comet definitely play on and reference some older 50s movies. This one, we'll definitely get into that plays a big role here. This might have been the first movie that I really realized how much the 80s were, yeah, just so strongly homaging and doing nostalgia for those 50s horror flicks.
Yeah, I only thought that Back to the Future was like the only. I say the only one, but I thought they were like one of them, like the only films for the. Oh, let's kind of look back on the 50s. And I think I mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned this like in a recording or at least with you. Maybe I have with Eric instead. But I don't know. Maybe it's. I think we talked about this with maybe Sean and Eric, but I'll just reiterate with just like the 80s fetishization of the 50s or 50s fetishization, excuse me, in the 80s. I wasn't there, so I don't have the same like, oh, these guys as a pseudo intellectual tool, like, oh, how dare they? Maybe if I was transplanted back, perhaps, but perhaps my 80s fetishization is waning. And I guess I've just like ignored the aughts and the 90s fetishization of the current age and just like, okay, well, I'm not whatever, it's there, but I don't care. I care very little over this. But instead, enough of that. Let's move on with the film.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about the 50s fetishization as we go forward throughout this series. But I guess we've been talking for a little while and we haven't done our trademark style of. First thing I'll ask is before I ask if you're, you're flip your sign, best thing, worst thing. But had you heard much of this movie previously?
I can't remember if Red Letter Media has reviewed this, and I just happen to like watch a video of theirs. I doubt this is on the best of the worst. I think this is a little bit like
Yeah,
above that
definitely better.
prestige. I say prestige, but you know what I mean. That's slop. No, there's some diamonds in the rough there. But you probably have mentioned it before. Maybe I've heard it from somewhere. I don't think I've seen clips of this in anybody's, any Channel Awesome alumni's, clips that they would use for jokes, quick joke, cutaway jokes, or references, whatever you want to call it. But no, this is my first time seeing this. Your history, sir, if you don't mind. No, you're gonna ask me, obviously. I know it's probably my turn, or it's your turn to ask me all of standard questions. But what about you, quickly? I just want to know.
Oh boy, this one came about from the same place that a lot of my early horror kind of interest came from, or at least horror venturing more into the obscure realm. And that was the Cool Duder YouTube channel, all the way back in like 2006, 2007 era, 2008, around that time. Before I really started collecting, I had my passion ignited and my like world opened up into, oh, there's so many more obscure horror films out there that I never heard of, thanks to that YouTube channel, Cool Duder. And so I made a big note, or big, I filled a notebook filled with films A to Z, and I would just go out there and check them off every time I would buy one. And this one was early on there. I definitely wanted to see this. He gave it a strong recommend, and so I picked it up. I think right around the time that they re-released this director's cut. I think that was maybe like, yeah, 2009 it says on my disc. So I picked it up right around that time. And I've probably seen it, I think this may be my 6th or 7th viewing today. And so I've seen it a lot, but it had been quite a few years. I think the last time I saw it, actually it's right here. It's last time I watched it was 2018. And that was my 6th viewing, it says. So it's my 7th today.
Oh my. Okay.
So a film that I've seen quite a bit and one that I've always enjoyed. And every time I brought it up to people, no one ever seems to have seen it. And I'm always like, oh, you should definitely give this a shot. This is one of those forgotten 80s flicks that I think is worth another look. And I know I brought it up at least once previously in the podcast, back all the way when we covered The Predator. Because this was written and directed by Fred Decker, longtime friend of Shane Black, who made his return from retirement to work on The Predator. That was the first thing he'd done in, I think, 20 years. That was his coming out of retirement, and it was just a complete failure. So
I forgot about all that. Well, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I'll mention a bit more of that as we go along, but boy was I disappointed at the time. Yeah, back to the traditional format for us. Best thing, worst thing, and how are you feeling this movie? What do you got to say, Isaac?
Well, I didn't have a board prepared, but I'll obviously make one up on the spot because that's what I usually do. But Selecta believes that, oh yeah, no, I got a board in front of me, and I've written it like beforehand, of course. Wink. This movie made me feel like I was rewatching House of the Dead 2, but with a much better script and a bit of an edge when it came to a certain detective.
Oh, wow. Wow. Forgot about that movie already.
Uh-huh. I only say that because, yeah, immediately this, like, we're on a college campus, and I believe that one took place on a college campus, and it was
Yep.
just
Yeah.
absolutely dreadful. Was not a big fan of it. Was not feeling that film, but definitely feeling this film. And this is a much better film than that. I don't know if that's high praise, of course, coming from me, but let's just say that that was not a good film set in a university. This is a much better film set in a university. I'll give this, like I said, a feeling it, but maybe a little on the lower side potentially.
Hmm.
Worst thing is some of the standard university tropes, I suppose. Not the absolute worst, obviously, but my eyes were glazing over. I definitely am not interested in that stuff, even if it is like important to the script. But they're setting the stage. It is there for setting of like, okay, this is the flavor you're gonna get. I don't know if it's meatballs. I don't know if it's Animal House. I don't know if it's that.
Oh, jeez.
But best thing are the scenes with the detective, and out of nowhere, like this could be probably hokey for some people, but this serious like nature, I say nature, but like kind of like it could be tone whiplash for some people. But whenever we have scenes of his flashback, even if he can become a cartoon later on, I was like, this this is what kind of is like, winning me over with the film, because this has that like B movie quality to it, but this is like, I don't know, something out of like a noir, but I don't know, he's just kind of selling me on these scenes, and I do enjoy those. Caleb, let me go through the checklist. Do you have a board of sorts?
Sadly, I almost never have a board these days. I wish I could remember to write them. But I will say, definitely a very solid feeling it. This is going to be on the lower tier of some of the films that we're going to pull out. But like I said, I've seen it 7 times at this point. There's a reason I keep coming back. There's just a lot of charm. Fred Dekker and Shane Black are known for having those snappy lines and fun little quotable moments. Whenever I watch this, I'm thinking of the thrill me line, I like that bit, good news is your dates are here, bad news, they're dead. I just think that's a funny line. And there's lots of those little snappy bits. My best thing is the same as yours, Tom Atkins as the Detective Cameron. It's just a fun little bit of a more harder to swallow element. Like, this is a lighthearted horror comedy. I'm not super heavy on the comedy, but lighthearted horror with some humor. And then yeah, we have him in there. He's traumatized from a previous relationship, a murder, and also there's that moment when we walk into his suicide attempt, and they never even comment on it. It's just like, oh, why is he tearing that tape off the door? Oh, why is the gas on?
And that was all set up for the ending. I like once because yeah, the tape. I was like, is he trying to keep somebody locked out? And then he's flicking it. He's about to flick his lighter on, and then I realized the stove. I'm like, wow, what a great scene! I know that's like bad for me to say, but like, what a fantastic scene that they never point out.
Yeah, I always love that bit. So he's definitely the highlight. My worst thing is also the same as yours. Maybe it's because I didn't go through the sorority or the traditional college experience in that kind of way, but I just never had any interest in those movies. I don't really care about horror academia. There's only one thing I really liked related to that. That's that book Bunny that me and Brianna covered on here. Otherwise, I almost never like college settings. And so most of the college scenes, the hazing stuff, I just, yeah, roll my eyes. Maybe we're on the outs just because we didn't really experience that. Maybe that's something that would draw a lot of people, especially people with 80s nostalgia like Eric. He might enjoy that stuff more.
Possibly.
But for me, yeah, I was just skipping over that stuff in my mind. Like, okay, and the Bradster, the gags with him didn't really play as funny to me. It's just kind of like, okay, whatever. This guy, just an '80s archetype.
Well, one thing I did like though with the sorority was like almost the contrast between what it was at one point in the 50s to what it is in the 80s in contemporary times of this film. I think that was
Hmm.
actually an interesting point. I don't know if they got it all like correct. By the way, just thinking of the Twilight Zone series, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone, excuse me, from the late 50s. I'm just thinking of like what dorm rooms would have probably looked like. I guess they would have had like an Elvis Presley poster in like university. I'm just thinking back to, because that was like, the Twilight Zone was at the time. Okay, maybe it wasn't like 59. What? No, 56. No, yeah, 59. Okay, so it was around
Yeah.
there. I'm thinking of this like when they start this film off. It's in 59, right? So it's almost around the same time, so not fully. But it is just funny how like I'm thinking all this always gets me where I'm thinking back to was it Transformers Rise of the Beasts, where we go into their like what was it, the protagonist's house or apartment, and it's just references to 90s ever, and I'm like, I don't know if it was that referential or not referential. I don't know if it was that like layered with 90s stuff, but I'm just thinking of like what Seinfeld probably looked like and what they had on posters there. It's and you know what I mean, right? Like look back on the television at the time, and if they were contemporary, then what are they dressing the sets up with?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I haven't really seen very many '50s college movies. Again, I'm not very attracted to that genre. Maybe there's a bunch of famous ones that I've not seen, but I can't think of any.
But it definitely was like, I don't know if they got the culture down completely of how there was maybe like an esteemed quality and nature of, well, okay, I see esteemed quality and nature of look a little homogenized to me, but just how everybody looked like they were there for to be there and to further their education in school. And then you look at the 80s and it's just like, okay, this is all university is just a party. It's just a
Yeah,
one big party and we're all here and we're adults and we're kind of like young adults, excuse me, and we're here to just party and not worry about big consequences. This is all happening inside like a microcosm, a petri dish, so we don't have to worry about like the outside world. And only just, whatever affects in here is affected here.
yeah, just a small little. Well, I guess the ending leaves room for a bigger event to occur, but
I also literally meant like the party nature of these like schools, stereotypically, of what happens like outside of like if we cause debauchery in the 80s in this university setting, it doesn't bleed out into the real world. It's only just like all inside
hmm.
this microcosm. But you are correct though with the incident with the Knolls. I don't know if you call them anything. I don't know what the technical term is behind or what like nickname you've given them, but I'm calling them Knolls.
All the '80s jock guys. I guess not quite jocks, but whatever you'd call that. The top dogs of the sorority scene.
Oh yeah, beta. Wait. What did you think I was saying? I was referring to the aliens.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you were calling the college jock asshole guys.
No. Sorry. I'm talking about the aliens from the beginning. I want those guys, but the brain worms, or whatever you want to call them. Maybe
Hmm.
they're called brain worms, but I call them Knolls.
Oh, any particular reason for the title?
Well, I was going to let you guess, but has anybody seen Reboot recently? Because if they have, there are creatures in that series that are called Knolls, and they're a little more,
Oh,
what is it? They're more like technicolored and different neon colors. But I just, yeah, that's what these little slug guys or leeches look like to me.
okay. Yeah, I'm looking back. Okay, I remember these guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I kind of forgot about them. Hmm.
Yep.
But what do you think about that alien opening? It's kind of funny that we open up in the '50s, we do black and white, and then they give us a proper kind of with '80s effects sci-fi scene with these funny guys up there. This whole event just it seems like I don't know if it was accidental or what happened with these slugs getting released.
Well, so hang on. So you watched the director's cut, you say, correct?
Oh yes, yeah, that's the DVD that I have. Yeah.
About how long is that cut in length?
This cut is 90 minutes exactly.
Wow, 90, just like on 90 minutes. Okay, I think that's the same here. Um, because at least how I watched it, it went aliens, 50s, 80s.
Yep, yep.
Okay, now we're on the same page. Okay, got it. I thought you could. Sorry, your wording confused me. I was like, wait, what? I thought it was aliens then 50s, but it is funny how it's not 50s looking at all, which is fine. Don't worry, I'm not complaining. It's funny how it's not 50s. It clearly is like an 80s design of a ship, and the same thing with.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it. The aliens have the same white eyes or effects that the Night of the Comet, not zombies, have.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can see that. I didn't think about that, but you're
I don't
right.
know why I'm so fixated on that, but that's just something that I remember. I remember the whites of the eyes and the zombies, or the not zombies, excuse me, the turned, whatever you want to call it, in that Night of the Comet. In this, a little different. Quick, don't see them again after the beginning, which is fine. Well, sorry, they themselves, not the ship. We see that we got to make use of that ship, or else costumes not
Yeah,
so much. Have this legal stand-in knockoff bootleg version of like a Star Wars fanfare, and
yeah.
literally almost like a okay, not similar opening, but I guess one is defecting or at least wanting to release one of their experiments or just a weapon. I'm not sure. Get rid of it, and they're being shot at, and then they release it, and it just flies through the universe, or just happens to be around Earth, and then crash lands near a forest.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about this movie that I always appreciate when they do this in random horror movies is they throw a bunch of different concepts at us. Yeah, we get the sci-fi at the beginning. Oh, we got these aliens. Oh, then they're releasing these slug monsters that create zombies. So two different types of horror there. But then we also have just in the middle, or at least in the early section here, this axe murderer. Oh, an escaped lunatic's he's got out of the asylum and he's wielding a fire axe and he's killing folks. So we get a little bit of the slasher touch in there too. So I like that they give us some variance. And this whole 50s opening, I always really appreciate it. Just seeing a very clearly 80s movie, trying to emulate that 50s style, I think is fun.
I'll say maybe back. I prefer Back to the Future, but this still does a commendable job in my opinion with the '50s parts.
Yeah, and Back to the Future feels like it's trying to do like a bigger budget 50s kind of thing. This one feels like those cheapo Roger Corman flicks. It kind of looks like that and just reminds me of the vibe of them. And Roger Corman definitely was a big influence on this movie. You can feel it throughout, I think. And there's even some pretty direct references to Roger Corman.
Oh, okay. You definitely have to point them out to me because I was not aware of these.
Yeah, one of them will be kind of a running thread that we'll see again in Chopping Mall, as Dick Miller shows up here playing a character named Walt, which was a reference to Walter Paisley, a character that he played multiple times in 80s B movies, which was based off of a Roger Corman character that kind of was one of the ones that really made Roger Corman famous. This movie, A Bucket of Blood, starring Dick Miller in the 50s. So he popped up throughout a bunch of movies playing that Walter Paisley name, at least. He wasn't playing the same character, but they would give him that name. And he shows up here being called Walt, and then directly in Chopping Mall, they call him Walter Paisley. So there's actually a couple ties that's going to relate to all four of these movies. I'm sure we'll see some connections. We'll try to maybe point them out if we if we remember. But at the very beginning too, in the university that we see is called Corman University. So that little tie in there.
Didn't even notice that. Thank you for telling me that. Like I would have. Yeah, I overlooked that fact.
Yeah, did you notice the how all the characters were named by horror directors? I mean, that one I feel like is they were really throwing it out there with some of those names.
Wait, JC is not James Cameron, is it?
No, his name was I wrote it down because that was the silliest one. Um, that one was James Carpenter Hooper, and his friend was Christopher Romero.
Whatever could those mean?
And then the female lead was Cindy Cronenberg.
Oh well, that was like okay, that's a little like on the nose, but fair enough. I just assumed that they could have been like just a that last surname or a surname that was popular at the time.
No, just about every character that has a name is a horror reference. Even the Screaming Like Banshees janitor, his name was Mr. Miner, as a reference to Fred Decker's friend Steve Miner, a horror director.
Oh, okay.
Which actually, I'll just say, If you go on to, if you ever looked at the IMDb for Return of Godzilla, you might be surprised to see Fred Decker's name in there as a writer. They
Interesting.
credit him as being, yeah, being involved with writing that script. I don't know if he ever actually worked on that American Godzilla release, Godzilla 1985, but him and Steve Miner were the ones who were working on and spearheading that Godzilla failed 80s American version that they were going to make, the stop motion one.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was these two guys. But yeah, we'll definitely point out some more of the references as we go along. But what do you think about our two leads there, Spanky and Alfalfa?
Oh, glad you asked because with Chris, sorry. Well, okay, when they're in the shed and Cronenberg gets taken, I tell you, I was like, and she said Chris. I'm like flashbacks to Resident Evil 1. I'm like, oh boy, at the game. Sorry. I'm like, that's not the same actor who plays Chris in the full motion video segment of it, is
Oh,
it? No, that'd be a
I don't know.
freaking wild pull, man. I tell you.
That would be.
But okay, Chris looks like if we were to play if somebody were to make like an Archie Andrews slash like something like
Oh,
of a
hmm,
TV show or movie, this guy plays Archie. Like he clearly is got the hair for it. He looks the parts.
freckles.
Oh, absolutely, he's there. And then JC is not Jughead, but he definitely is Fred Decker or Shane Black, a stand-in. Like that's clearly just them in the movie.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for JC, and I was actually curious this time. I did a little bit of looking in and seeing if Fred Decker commented on it, because I was thinking like, oh, this is a, there was a string of people with disabilities showing up in horror from the 70s and the through the 70s and the 80s, but it was always very focused on the fact they were disabled. It was a big part of their character, and I always thought it was interesting that they really didn't do that here, and I was curious to see if there was a reason. There really wasn't. Fred Decker just was like, yeah, I noticed that they always, if there's a disabled character, they have to make it about them being disabled. So I just thought, why not just not do that? But yeah, that kind of stands out for the 80s. You really didn't see that much. So I don't know. I like that choice.
Yeah, except for the only part where it was made apparent was when the jerk kicked out his crutches. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
the only like I guess comment you if you want to make it that like make a point of that. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sad that I was like, okay, JC's he's a fast talker. I get that. Like he's really like, yeah, he's the mouth between him and Chris. But yeah, seeing him, yeah, get like meet his end that way, yeah, it definitely was like, man. Even though there's some points where he was like annoying, but I'm like, okay, yeah, but it's the '80s type. It's like, okay, I get it. It's like, yeah, I didn't want to see him end this way. It's like that sucks. But I am actually okay with the way he went out and he figured it out all on his own and gives him that message of, as in classic terms, anything that's fleshy hates fire.
yeah. And they even gave him that little bit of a, even though it was off screen, like a little hero's moment where he tried to go and end all this, but yeah, just failed. Couldn't do it. But yeah, and overall, I agree. Sometimes I mean, if you know people who are like this in real life, people who are just always the joker, always the talker.
Me.
I mean, they can be annoying in real life too. So it's fitting. But yeah, every now and again, he can be a little bit grating. But I think that the two of them have a charming dynamic, and I think a surprisingly tender friendship for an '80s kind of movie.
Yeah.
Between a male friendship, they're usually a little bit more surface. These guys feel pretty close, especially for this kind of age group.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, like with Chris's plight, it's well classic. I wanna see a girl. Like I want the girl. Whoever I'm interested this week, you can immediately imagine like a sitcom of this. Honestly, they actually do look like the archetypes that Zach from and Screech from Saved by the Bell. They kind of remind me of those two. Not fully, of course, and not in that same like,
Yeah,
it's the school's being taken over by aliens. But it definitely has. Like, I can see the DNA that's later on in that series.
yeah. Another thing I like too that was a different tact, and really one of the main things I really dislike about the university kind of genre, and it infects a lot of just teen movies in general. But like the kind of obsession with getting laid. So many of these movies have that. Like this relationship that Chris has with Cynthia seems much more like a, I don't know, like a more innocent, maybe more of like a '50s relationship. Where it's just like, oh, she's so pretty and I can't talk to her and I'm a nerd. Well, I wish I could get the girl. But it's not like, oh, it's our second year at university, but we haven't gotten laid. We got to get laid in this movie by the end of it, like so many of these things do.
This is not Animal House, thankfully.
Yeah. Or what's that one that Eric really loves? Fast Times. Fast Times, I think,
Oh,
has a
yeah.
bit too much sex obsession too, in a creepy way at times.
Not a big fan of that film.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to love that one. I don't know. I just never could go with that movie, or a lot of movies that are, yeah, again, with so many characters obsessed with getting some action in the bedroom. So I like how kind of cute their relationship is too with Cynthia and Chris. And he's kind of an interesting leading man. He really doesn't have the look for a leading man, and he's a little bit more kind of dopey looking than a lot of the heroes would be in this kind of thing. It was making me think a little bit of Ash in the original Evil Dead. He was also kind of like, this is the leading man. This guy, he's got an effeminate name. He seems kind of dopey. So I don't know. Maybe they're feeding off of that horror comedy from a few years earlier.
Yeah, the unlikely hero. I think he would fit more in like a John Hughes movie, but instead
Hmm.
he's in this one where it's a B movie. I mean that in a good way, of course. It's like, yeah, I'm actually glad they did that in a way. I don't know if was Breakfast Club out by this point, but either way, it's like it'd be funny if it was like the Breakfast Club, but they have to take on like an alien invasion on their university.
Hey, that could have been fun. Emilio Estevez in an alien invasion movie. I don't know if he did a sci-fi flick. I can't think of any at least.
It just seems like two things that would not mesh well, or at least just John Hughes would probably not want that. It's like, okay, that's beneath me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, that guy went on to make some pretty poor material as the years went on. So I don't know.
Oh boy, okay, less of that. More of this. Cynthia herself. Um, See, there. I actually okay. I wanted to know more about her, and when we kind of, I don't know, when the camera followed her into her dorm room. Okay, nudity aside, not a fan of that. But
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, give me something, please. Like, give me something as to like, give me some of her character rather than her just be the girl for Chris's dreams. Like, well, let me have a character to this person. Maybe because I was spoiled with Night of the Comet and those
Mm.
two female leads and how they were interested in men still, but they weren't, trying to chase, get a man or something like that. Except for Sam, she was obviously like, wanting to get some action there because Reggie obviously was getting the guy. But sorry, less of that. So I was like, okay, let's come on, give Cynthia something here, and they don't really do anything with her other than just like she is kind of stuck in this relationship with the jerk, and does seem to like Chris. Okay, it's not much, but still,
Yeah.
the end does try to make her like, okay, hey, maybe we're seeing the through line to Olivia Munn's character from the Predator potentially, where suddenly
Oh
because
no.
honestly, I swear, when she either uses the flamethrower or uses the 12 gauge, I was just waiting for her to say like, oh, how or not maybe Chris, I don't know, is oh how'd you get so good with that? It's like oh my dad's Marine or something like that. Um, but
Yeah.
no, in this case, it was just like a smile, and I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever, I can live with that. Maybe it's just a 80s film, so it's not as what is it? It's not as I say unforgiving, but it's just like okay, whatever. In this situation, guns are easier to use anyways, and she's not doing like acrobatic tricks with it.
Yeah, and badass girls at the end of horror films was just a trope, and also it's a more of a comedy bent, so they don't need to be too rigorous with some of this stuff.
Also, with the beginning where again she's inside her dorm room, and then the I guess the first victim, excuse me, the first victim of the Knolls, they when he like picks a flower for her,
Hmm.
yeah, like that was a pretty good effect of like just like the Knolls coming out of the face or the head, excuse me. So that's hey closest thing to like a head burster instead of a chest burster. But I thought for sure she was taken. I thought for sure she was like okay she's infected, but nope. I never got that through this film. I was waiting for the scare. I was waiting for like the final scare of like they're gonna get me, and kind of didn't happen, which I'm all right with.
Yeah, they went for like a softer kind of like, oh, they got together in the end ending. There was no, yeah, a corpse suddenly jumps out. Well, I guess they went over to the graveyard. We saw that,
Yes.
and Detective Cameron, but at least not for our two lovers. They got to walk away happy.
Yep, they got to walk away happy. Hopefully, they'll have a little, like, ceremony for JC, or at least a little in memoriam and celebration of life for him.
Yeah, and then hopefully get on a plane and get out of there before the graves, the zombies start rising.
And it becomes Thriller.
What do you think about the silly cryo chamber bit in there? Oh, we got this guy from the 50s. We just got him in this silly cryo chamber. I always thought that was a funny bit too. They're just like, oh, they're just like, whatever. This is kind of a stupid movie, so why not just throw in a stupid thing?
Yeah, it's like a convenience of the plot. I was like, okay, I'm thinking back to when I had the comment where that was all done. Like they had this whole like underground bunker for that. And I'm like, okay, this is just a given. They need to have that on site just for the story to go
Mm-hmm.
take place. This would be somewhere way out in the boonies, way out in the sticks. A black site, an off the books, off the record facility that even the government doesn't know about happening. But instead, it's the place where, oh yeah, no, it's the least likely place that people would go for experiments, which is a university campus.
Yeah, now that you say that, actually, that's a thread that we'll pick up later in Return to Living Dead. Not in the same way, but you'll see when we get to it that there's a little bit of a connection there in that regard. This one was actually making me think of all the movies. I feel like there's ties I can make to all of them, except for Fright Night, because I've only seen that movie once, and it was many years ago, so I can't recall what the connections might be to that.
We may find some, but we'll give our notes over that when we do that one later on.
Oh, yes, but one of the things I wanted to mention, because you were talking about The Predator again, and I did want to mention there's some interesting ties to this movie that makes me wonder if this movie was why Fred Decker eventually worked on the Predator movie. You may have seen at the beginning of this was produced by Charles Gordon. They put his name relatively big in the credits there.
I saw.
And Charles Gordon, he hadn't done too much at this point. He did go on to some bigger success. He was involved with the Die Hard franchise. I think he produced all of those. But he's more better known related to his brother, Lawrence Gordon, who was a major producer. He was big involved in the blaxploitation movement. He produced so many of those classic films. He produced a lot of just 80s action stuff in general. That was kind of a big deal. But he was also the person who shepherded the Predator franchise. He produced that first film, and he was a producer on all the sequential films released, including the most recent one, to Predator Killer Killers. I don't even know if Lawrence Gordon's still alive, but his name is still on him, so maybe he is. I thought he was long since dead. But maybe because his brother made this little cheapo film with Fred Decker, maybe when he was putting together the Predator, he's like, oh, what do I do? What's some contacts to put together this crap film? Oh, let's get this guy pull him out of the moth closet. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting tie. I never realized that there was a tenuous tie between these two people. And maybe there was a reason why he eventually worked on that movie.
Yeah, the more you look into films, the more that a lot of them are connected in just ways of people's.
Oh, and actually there's one more note related to Fred Decker's writing and strange connections. But funnily enough, because it has been many years since we covered anything to do with Fred Decker, the Predator, but you and Eric recently covered something of his only a few months ago. At least I hope it's only a few months ago at this point. Time's moving so fast.
Interesting.
But Fred Decker was a script editor on the first season of Enterprise, and he actually wrote 3 episodes, and one of them you guys happened to cover earlier this year, The Andorian Incident.
That was him, eh?
Was one of the ones that he penned. Yeah, over on the Romulan Spring Gifts feed.
Really? He was a Star Trek guy. Did he do any other previous series of either DS9 Voyager or TNG?
Nope. That was him coming out of mothballs again when he worked on Enterprise, because his career kind of died after RoboCop 3 in the early 90s, and it was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And then suddenly he makes his comeback on Enterprise, and then just kind of fades away again after that. So, very up and down career, this guy.
Yeah, I wonder what he does like in between, like all the time. Like, is he just like writing stuff, or is he going and doing something else, like a different career? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, he had a weird career. He made this movie. He made this another famous 80s movie called Monster Squad. Just kind of like a Goonies, but for the Universal Monsters. They go and meet all the classic ones. Another very much kind of looking back to a previous era. And I don't know. I don't really like the movie as much as a lot of people do, but I know it's quite beloved. And then RoboCop 3, and that was it. Those are the only three films he directed, and
Wow.
yeah, he's had a very sporadic career after that. So I don't know. Oh, and by the way, again, looking at my notes here, the cat that we see running around is named Gordon. So I'm
George.
assuming that was for the producer.
Oh, Gordon. Sorry, right. Why did I think it was George? I thought it was, yeah, Gordon. That's right. It's supposed to start with G. Well, I guess George Romero, but obviously that's somebody else has that name.
I did think it was nasty when the cat comes and she picks it up and it's got that fucked up face and there's just that worm dangling out of its eye. I was like, ooh, that's gross. Nasty worm.
I said immediately, like, please, no animal cruelty. Yes and no, it's obviously a model. Same with the dog. I'm okay with that. I can live with that.
Yeah.
It was just no other, like, okay, no maggots and cats, no, what is it? No dog creature from The Thing, nothing like that. No amalgamation of that. Please, no. And what we got is fine. I'm all right with it.
Yeah, it helped that they look so cheap. In this movie, you could tell is pretty low budget, but I think for the effects that they do give, even though they're not very convincing, you can see the very plasticky quality to a lot of them, latexy quality. I still think they're creative and fun, and it's not like a big time effects movie. There's so many other famous '80s horror flicks for special effects, but this one I think is solid enough.
I agree. This is not one of the places where I would give it a knack. I will give it, or nick, whatever. This time I'll give it a knack of like, no, there's something charming about the effects. That wasn't the thing that turned me off to this film, which was, I was more just, sorry, this is 2025 brain, real. Practicality. Those are real models,
Yeah.
and so my brain can appreciate that, but that shouldn't be the reason why I like this film. But it definitely is 2025. Oh yeah, I enjoy this.
Yeah, it helps, especially in the era that we grew up in with the aughts, when so many horror films. I mean, now they're making more of a move to try to get back to practical effects, but especially in the aughts and the tens, it was so much just CGI replacing stuff, and boy, did it just kill a lot of the momentum for a lot of those horror movies during that time. So it's nice to go back.
All right. We're old men for saying about this, so it's like, all right, whatever. Let's move on from this. People have heard us say that.
Well, I think that I think that it's been clear that a lot of people rejected that, and that's why modern filmmakers are trying to move away from it, at least in horror. I mean, of course, action stuff still use a lot of CGI, but
Unfortunately.
and there's something to be said. It does have a more believable quality, even though those little wormies, sliding around on strings. Sometimes you can see the strings. I still think it's cute. I enjoy that stuff.
I agree.
And especially in a movie like this that's making such kind of reference back to the past, having a little bit of hokiness in the effects also would feed into some of that 50s nostalgia, I would think. Oh, and another trend that we'll probably see in a couple more of these, at least I know Chopping Mall does this as well, is seeing a 50s movie playing on the TV. We see I don't know, I guess the head woman or the headmaster, I don't know what you call it in sorority, but she's watching Plan 9 from Outer Space on the TV.
That's what it was.
I was like, hey, there you go. That's kind of fun. I like that.
Nice. I did enjoy that. I was like, ooh. And it's obviously subtle foreshadowing as the Axeman cometh from the ground or the grave.
Yeah, kind of a weird touch. We hadn't really seen any of these zombies using tools, but this guy shows up with his axe. I don't know. Again, this is a silly movie. You don't need to take it too seriously, but I was scratching my head a little bit with that bit.
And it is the reanimated corpse type of zombie. Not so much maybe infected, but more, I guess, like possessed reanimation almost.
Yeah,
Not the same thing as, reanimated from like an infection, but good variant.
yeah, and I guess to make it clear, it's like any biological material that they can get into and use. Like even the brains later they're using. Although I do wish we would have seen those brains like hopping around after these guys. I think that could be kind of fun too.
Save that for the sequel.
But I did think it was kind of a fun head explosion. Well, I think we're going to see a few more head explosions in this series too. I always like a good head explosion. Usually I like a little bit more gore, but I kind of like the dust and all the little worms just splatting everywhere out of there. But if there's one thing that I'll say with this movie is sometimes I like a horror comedy to take the horror elements a little bit more serious. And that's not to say this one didn't take them, they weren't playing a lot of the horror stuff for jokes. But there was nothing really too horrific. Nothing too gory, nothing too no good sudden scares or anything like that. It's one of those kind of horror movies that just feels like a Saturday afternoon horror movie, where it's like, oh, this is kind of a light movie, a little bit of horror elements, but I'm just sitting and enjoying it. So
Yeah, I guess Night of the Comet kind of has that as well, where there's not a lot of like horror moments to it. But I will say, at least one that did get me was it's after the researcher, and I'll say something about him in a second. It's after that researcher uh, gets offed when he gets schwacked. He's in the morgue or whatever, and then he like what is it? The guy who's always eating something is filling out some paperwork. Turns around when he hears a noise, is like, nope, nothing. And then the guy just like sits up, and then the music plays afterwards. Like, okay, that got me. That kind of like no hairs in the back of my head, but or neck, but I definitely was like, oh, okay, no, that was a good one. That was effective.
yeah, that was a decent one.
And with just that quickly, that researcher, I don't know why that bit with how he forgot like the last comp like number, the digit in his like combination into the room. I was like, okay, I don't. That was a great bit. I like that whole sequence.
I did too. I thought that was a really funny gag. I also love the gag too when he's walking out of the police station all bloody and naked, and the one cop walks by, doesn't even look up, and he's like, "See you tomorrow." I just thought that was funny.
Oh brother, that could have helped a lot of things. Other than that, yeah, there wasn't really any. There was a good like maybe not scare, but there was a good bit where what is it after the dog, the turned dog, kind of is in the middle of the road where and the betas are going in the bus, and the bus driver like careens off, and we kind of see like almost like a large Marge or what is it? The end of Mad Max. That's right, where the guy has his like eyeballs pop out of his face. Yeah, kind of
Oh,
like that. That was a great bit.
oh, I missed that. I gotta go check that out. I'll forward to that. That's cool. I like the dog in the street. There's something about that made me laugh. Just the way they frame the shot when it cut to him. It's a classic comedy timing. I like too when the dog just walked up. When Brad was like, "Oh, did you see that worm?" And he looks over and the dog's just like, "Rah." I thought that was funny too.
That was yeah. I mean, he could only say that in like the inebriated state that he was in from a bunch of drinking, but it was a little like, oh well, we're gonna have a weird like this. The jerk is gonna have some just down like some dog time with his random dog, and it's like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then he gets schwacked.
Just as I was fast forwarding, I saw this the montage scene of everyone getting ready. We get a bunch of nudity in there, of course. But I like how as they're doing that, they just keep cutting the little worms, just like slithering around everywhere, just like going across the. I thought that was fun. Fun way to play with the '80s montage.
Yeah, you're right. And honestly, I think there was only that one girl who let Gordon in, the cat. She was, I think, the only victim, and or at least girl I say girl, but person we lost in that entire house. So honestly, like other than respect to her for passing, but hey, like they pretty much saved all the ladies in that one house.
Yeah, and overall, it's a fairly low victim count. I did like when they were just walking through the house.
I don't know. I think Halloween beats it for this one for low victim count, but that's just me.
That's true, but it seems like such a big scale, like it's this alien invasion, but they're only getting a few people. I'm trying to skip over to that bus scene, but I can't remember where it was.
Oh, and even like the after effects or the after shot of it's just there and it's turned on its side. Really good set. That was a really good like destroyed bus set. Probably be a little more gory, but with all those bodies in there. But boy, it's enough fuel to fuel the entire last bit of the film. We gotta obviously talk about the detective. I keep meaning to.
Yes, yeah.
I keep waiting for you to bring him up, but okay. Well, first I gotta ask: is he one of John Carpenter's alum? Because I was like,
Oh yes,
I know this face and I've seen him before, but I can't put like name to face. He's been in The Fog, right?
yes. That's the last time we saw him on the podcast. Absolutely, the fog.
I figured. Okay.
Yeah, Tom Atkins. This guy is kind of an icon of '80s horror, but more in the lower budget kind of realm. More of the, we had a couple ones that stood out big. I would say this one. I would say Creep Show is probably the one that maybe people saw more, and The Fog and Halloween 3. He has a really funny role in that one. Um, but this was the one that when I think of him, I think of his thrill me line. I think of him going around, yeah, looking a little bit washed up, drunk detective-y. I think that's a fun look for him. I didn't really think of film noir kind of thing, but I could see that too. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, film noir was probably the wrong genre to describe it as. I just thought like, when we actually sat like when beginning where he has just that weird dream sequence when he's dreaming of like the woman who rises up out of the water, and she's, by the way, there's like no water on her as well. I was like, what an effect that was. I don't know how they
Yeah.
did that, but like she's clothed and she has like no moisture or like water effects on, not effects, but like just any, there's no like signs of water like dampening her hair or anything like that. I'm like, I don't know what that scene was, but like that was a good scene. To like the Axeman having eyeballs, which he later does not have when he's turned and resurrected. But just yeah, his whole sequence, and yeah, I definitely was a fan of. And by the way, um, he's like a dark version of, not the same thing, but he reminds me of Columbo, only in that he had like, not just because of the leather, the coat that he has, but and he smokes like a chimney, but the fact that he, maybe this was standard for the 80s, I'm not really too sure, but he keeps the like police vehicle that he had from like the 50s, or at least a police vehicle from the
Yeah.
50s, and I'm like, just Columbo with his like crap box that he has going around.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And he's always smoking. I mean, this guy, is he always smoking cigars or cigarettes in this one?
It's cigarettes. Now I understand why.
Hmm.
Like he's like having darts like a chimney just because he's wrought with guilt and trauma from what happened to his ex girlfriend, and what he saw. Golly, when that same scene, or same like dream sequence where at first he's holding like a hand, but then it changes to like a
Yeah.
shotgun. I'm like, okay, that looked like it was wrong, but then it changed to shot. I was like, okay, no, that was good. I kind of like that where it's a little surreal in that sense.
Yeah, and I liked how they took the put the color back. It was like the '50s one was almost like a nostalgic vision, and then when you come back and see the real brutality, then it's all in color and it's all real, and he's back there. Except it's his adult form in the costume. I like that too, that they had him actually in the policeman's outfit. And yeah, I liked all his random trauma. And that dream scene, yeah, when he's sitting on the beach, babes are coming around, they're handing him coconut drinks. But that trauma still peeks through as he had like the lady in the lake scene as she rises up.
And his whole like, it's funny, confessional to Chris as he explains what he did with the Axeman after he pumped him full of slugs. Soon slugs will get into him later on, but yeah, that was like, oh man, I like that stuff, and it was like taken seriously. And Chris was like, I don't know if you are confessing a murder to me, but what does this have to do with like what's currently going on? Because he later, or he reveals that that's where he put the Axeman underneath like the one headmistress, or like one of the heads of the ladies' dorm house. And yeah, that was, yeah, no, that was pretty effective. That was like, all the scenes with him are great. The scene where and he just has to deal with all these like buffoon, I say buffoons, but with all these other like lower rank cops. I thought that was pretty funny. His like second in command, I like his like character tick where he's always got a wad of gum that he like always puts in his mouth, so it's a good contrast between the two. Where it's
Hmm.
like, it seems like he found a way, like he was also a smoker at one point, so he like switched over to gum instead.
Oh, it's good detail.
So he's probably the more, what, maybe I'm not sure. I think people who do darts probably would attest to that, but I assume he was like the what that character could have been had he not had all this guilt with him. Um, Oh, and some of the is it snap zooms or whatever that occur when just like the camera like just goes towards the face. Like I remember there was one with that he had where just all of a sudden the camera kind of just whooshes towards him. I was like, we're really
Yeah.
doing that, eh? That's actually kind of like, again, wow, I was giving this movie a little more than was going on. But what I was going to mention before was he's driving now. Actually, it's on screen right now. He finds out about like the Axemen, right, and having killed the headmistress, and there's two cops just appear like in front of him, behind him. I actually thought they were going to arrest him for some reason. I was like, what the flip? It's like, no, you're under arrest. You've gone over. You've gone too far, Captain. You're a detective. You've got to like hand in your badge. None of that. Thankfully, they didn't do that. But I was like, wow, that was just because it almost seemed like they were knowing where he was.
Yeah, just a funny gag. He's like, "Where the hell's my backup?" Oh, never mind.
Yeah, there they are.
I just thought that was funny too.
Oh, and the opposite of Mike Myers, excuse me, in Halloween, where it's like they suddenly like try to like, oh, where is he, of the X-Man, and instead they kind of deal with him pretty quickly as well, which was a cool shootout. And I'll be remiss to not say like, I'll say it like it was different, maybe not great, but it was different how they did the end with him, not in the basement, but suddenly when one of the girls is turned, and then there's two other Delta guys or what Beta guys that come in towards him, and he just like starts rotating and spinning and then shoots. It's like
Yeah,
it gave me flashbacks to Assault on Precinct 13, and I'm like, not the same, of course, but I'm like, oh, this is like I was not expecting this. Like this is not. Maybe people could probably see this as goofy, but it's just different, and I like that.
yeah. Just ways to give a little bit of flash, especially to a low budget flick. Just some ways to try to make it stand out and feel a little bit more unique. I always appreciate that in low budget movie making. And yeah, again, this guy, he really is in my opinion, the star of the movie. He's what makes it so. If he wasn't here, it'd be quite a bit lesser.
I agree.
Not that I didn't enjoy Chris and JC, but all his scenes of him like just sitting around drinking, having flashbacks. It's like, oh man. Like I mentioned earlier, that suicide scene, that one does stick with you. I think it's the fact that they don't call it out either.
Exactly.
It's just like, wait, what happened there?
Well, it's just that the writers thought of let's have somebody from that 50s era be affected years later. I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And how that story kind of is tied into this as well, just years later, and it's just by accident. Where I say accident, but like I don't know, contrived coincidence, but just some the whole misunderstanding occurs where I see teenagers, but like young adults get into this secret laboratory underneath the school. Again, it's so over the top to say that, but then instead they just what is it? Yeah, they start off this entire sequence of events. Like it's all just there for fun. Oh, that's what it is. Sorry. When the snaps or whatever that shot from Jaws, whatever what it is called. You gotta help me out here with that. Where Brody realizes that there's a shark in the water on the beach, whatever that's called. Where
push and pull.
Push and pull. Thank you so much. It's when I've never seen this before. When the Axeman corpse smiles, I was like, that I've never seen before. And you've probably seen that with corpses, smiling, but I'm like, I've never seen that before in my life.
It was well done. It was definitely a cool moment. I like the one in his dream too. That was a cool corpse when he sees it walking around. I think that one actually looked a bit cooler.
Has eyes.
Yeah.
That's why it had the eyes, and that was even more creepy.
What was I gonna? Oh, I finally saw the eyes that you're talking about. The Mad Max shot with the bulging eyes. Yeah, that was good.
Oh yes, there you go. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and you mentioned how did they do that great shot with the woman rising from the water?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny. That's like the simplest technique, and they've been doing it for forever, but it always looks great. It always has such an eerie quality. All it is just reversing the film. You stand there, you go down into the water.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But if you do the motions right, it really does look just unnerving. And yeah, I always love that opening.
I never thought you're absolutely dang. Yeah, that's right. And I'm thinking of a few of these actually. I was more thinking of like when the gnolls go into some of the people's mouths. I almost wonder if it's like reverse. Like when the first victim, the boyfriend in the 50s. I wonder if it was a reverse shot where it like went out of his throat instead of into his throat. I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, just like put the prop in your mouth and we'll just pull it out with a string. I'm sure they're doing a lot of that.
Exactly. There you go.
But I was going to say another thing that I like with adding to his Cameron's kind of angst, maybe not angst, pathos. I don't know. was the fact that the night that she was murdered, the night that he murdered the killer, he caught her cheating on him. It was just like, oh, you're here with another guy. Like, oh, fuck. So that's got to factor into the whole weird thing, too. Like, oh, this girl who meant so much to me was murdered, but at the same time, she was cheating on me. And then I murdered this guy and hid his body. There's a lot going on in that guy's head. No wonder he's just sitting around boozing it up and looking at old, what are they called? Yearbooks all the time.
Yearbooks, reading like science fiction novels and pulp fiction stories.
Oh, I like that too.
That was actually interesting. I was like, I feel like that's worsening your case. I say case, but worsening your mental state.
Yeah, and it's funny that internal quality of him, but then when he's out and about, it seems like he gets along well with his cop buddies, especially that Dick Miller. The two of them just laughing it up. They seem like they're having some good chemistry on screen there. So I quite enjoyed the two of them together.
It was just ridiculous for him to like pull out just a flamethrower. Like that was also like kind of, when I say contrived, I don't mean that in a negative way. Just like that's just funny how they bring that in there.
And some good setup too. Wasn't Dick Miller like, this thing, it's a little bit finicky, it doesn't always ignite. So I was like, oh, there we go.
Yeah, if you turn it off and then try to turn it back on, it's not going to work. And I'm like, okay, no, perfect setup. I'm okay with that.
And I like the tension in that scene. Even though the two of them are laughing, you can see the tide turning eventually. He starts loading up that shotgun.
I was like, oh, please don't turn into a, okay, yeah, we have to use leverage. We have to use a 12 gauges leverage to give us, give me the flamethrower.
Yeah, and I was trying to think. I feel like Dick Miller had a very similar scene in Terminator. I can't remember if he was a cop in that one when Arnie was getting the gun, or if he was working at a gun shop. I can't remember.
No, he was the gun owner, wasn't he? The gun shop owner, pardon me.
Yeah, and then it was a similar thing, or like the tension happens, and then it gets blown away by the Terminator.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So yeah, that was kind of Dick Miller's thing. Just all these tiny little bit roles.
Yeah, cameos. Sorry, just because it was on screen before for me. What did you think of the tape recorder that JC made?
That was one of the ones where I was like, oh, look at this. This is much more tender. He's in there crying, and he's like, oh, I love you, man. I thought that was a sweet little moment.
Yeah, as he's like turning into like a not the same way, but like he's turning into a vampire almost. He's like, oh, I feel the change. They're in my head. So that was funny enough. This is probably what every video game, whenever it has like a tape recorder in there, that's probably what they're trying to get across.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. A little bit of a video game moment. That's right. But yeah, and it was there wasn't much room for him in this climax. I'm sure there's lots of running around and stuff. I don't know if he would have fared very well in some of these end moments. And I guess they wanted to focus more on the romance. So it was a nice little self-sacrifice. And I liked Detective Cameron's sacrifice too. Like they don't even know that he's there in the basement. They go down. He's got his mouth covered with duct tape.
Smart.
He's just like, get the hell out of here. What are you guys doing down here? I guess he's gonna kill himself and kill them too.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, and that's why at the end, yeah, the brain worms or the gnolls, excuse me, got him.
Yeah, and I like that little counting a bit at the end. I thought that was a nice little bit of tension too. All that ending I thought worked.
Chris was counting faster than what Cameron was counting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Oh, and I like a little bit of stop motion in there too, with the pile of those worm guys.
Oh my goodness, yeah, no, just the entire like mass of gnolls. I was like, what are they making? Like what are they forming into? And we never figured it out, but like it probably would have been something real grody with a lot of girth to it.
Hey, there you go. I would have liked to see that. But yeah, I'm still sad that they never made that stop motion Godzilla. Oh man, I'm sad.
Yeah.
I feel like that was almost a little tease to me, right there.
Some things were never meant to be. But hopefully one day King G will get the stop motion that he deserves.
Oh man, that'd be cool. But another thing I like too is James, not James Cameron, Detective Cameron, calling them Spanky and Alfalfa. I don't know why, but it does seem to fit. It was bringing a smile to my face. And I was like, oh man, I kind of miss those little rascals. I haven't seen that stuff in a long, long time.
Yeah, he had all these like nicknames for everybody, like like Bullwinkle or something like that.
Oh yeah, I like that. Oh, and there's definitely another thing we got to make sure to mention is the soundtrack to this movie. One of the first songs we hear, I think it's right when we transition over to the 80s, is one of my favorite 80s songs in general. Let Go from The Intimate Strangers. Oh man, do I love this song. And it's been a while since I've seen this, but I I didn't remember that it was in this, and I hadn't found my love for that song until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago when I watched this movie called My Demon Lover, another horror comedy from the 80s. And that song plays throughout that movie. It's kind of like the theme and the kind of driving force to the movie. And I fell in love with it after watching that. And so when I came and saw that it was in this, I was like, hey, that's great. I love this song. So I was happy to see that.
That was definitely one of the things on my mind because of Night of the Comet. I have been listening to that soundtrack more than at least 9 times by
Oh,
this point. I have been
it's a good one.
love it. I say the soundtrack, but the made for the movie music. I was just like so in love with that soundtrack. It made me kind of love the '80s again because it was the '80s. This as well. I don't want to like. I don't know if they made tracks for the movie like Night of the Comet did, or again if they used some of the what they could get the rights to of certain tracks. But either way, like not maybe I'll try to track it down to see if they did have like a release of like a CD release of I say CD, but just like a release of this album. But I mean, so far it's still Night of the Comet for me with that soundtrack, just for how
Yeah.
like much fun and like energy was put into that one.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That is definitely the better soundtrack. That's just one of those great, great movie soundtracks.
But with some of the '50s tracks, I definitely found myself humming those, or at least still in my head, and being like, "Oh, that's what I kind of took away from as well." The mix between '80s and '50s tracks or songs.
Yeah, and again, I would love to do a little '50s series to try to match up with this '50s horror comedies because there was a couple in there that I remember. I'd be curious to track down some good ones and see what they're kind of if they were pumping up the music like that too at that time. Because I don't really go back to the '50s. Well, I don't really go back to '50s movies very much in general. Maybe unfortunately, but when I do, it's usually more serious movies, less so the horror, sci-fi. So it's been a long time since I've seen a lot of those.
I got one for you. It's called The Turning Point.
Oh, I did watch that. Yeah, I watched that for you guys' podcast. Another one to point out. Prognosis Negative. If you want to hear Isaac on there with Eric and Sean, yeah, go check out their episode on the Turning Point, and go check out Isaac's episode on the Endorian Incident on the Romulans Bearing Gifts feed. But I don't know how if I have too much more. Oh, I guess one of my last notes is I do always find it funny. One of the things I remember coming back to this movie whenever I think of it, there's a couple little standout things. The thrill me line always stands out. That gag about the your dates are here and they're dead. And I liked the what was it? Like is it creepy collies, zombies, and a date for the formal. That's classic Spanky. I always remember that line too. Although I think I just fucked it up. But I also always remember that janitor with his loving that screaming like banshees gag. He's laughing to himself about it. He loves that. I don't know. I just think that's cute. I think there's something funny about that with that janitor.
It's definitely memorable. That's the big thing. I'm not like laughing at the now. Keep in mind, first time watching it through, so you're probably like more open to it. So as of now, I'm just like okay, at least it's a memorable trait for the janitor, but I'm not like laughing with him at that just yet. Maybe upon watching this 6 other times, I'll probably be like, oh, ha, 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 what a funny joke that is.
Yeah, and unlike Night of the Comet, where it did give me a lot more laughs, this one I'm mainly just smiling and enjoying the vibe. There's a couple of gags in there, a couple of fun lines that'll get me to chuckle. But mostly I'm just smiling and kind of just happy to go along with the story. Like I said, this is, in terms of the horror and comedy mix, this is a little bit more kind of somewhere in the middle. It doesn't really lean too much on either side. It's just kind of lighthearted and fun. Something like Night of the Comet, I feel like did lean more into the gags at times, and we'll definitely see ones that definitely do pick their sides more in this series.
I do worry that this series might be the shadow of the comet itself because it was something that I was worried about as well for like doing this because if I have such high expectations, but I didn't. I had when I say zero, like not no interest in Night of the Comet, but I was not expecting what I got from that film. I was not expecting how passionate and just much of a fun time I had with that film would be. And I don't want these next 3 other films, and this one too, to be in the shadow of my expectations of that. Obviously I'm not trying to have like, oh, I'm gonna get the next Night of the Comet, but unfortunately, that's gonna be in the back of my mind of like, do I find this as enjoyable as Night of the Comet? And this one, not so much, but I'm not denying it was a terrible movie. It was not a bad movie at all.
Yeah, and to be fair, most series are like that. You know, there's usually a peak, a thing that you're kind of looking at the rest of it, you know, in comparison to, and the fact that we started with Night of the Comet, you know, unofficially this series, it was the inspiration
Yes.
for it. It's totally fair, and I agree with you. No, I think Night of the Comet is the bigger standout. That movie has a vibe of its own, and yeah, I encourage anyone who hasn't seen that to go see it and listen to our episode, our re-uploaded episode. And I can't wait for when the two of us eventually get a chance to dig a little bit more in depth on the film itself, because that discussion did jump all over the place a little bit.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of non sequiturs there, but
Yes.
with like yeah, I guess to return like Uno reverse card myself. Perhaps this is somebody's Night of the Comet for them, and Night of the Comet is the one where they're just like, it was okay. People will have that. People
Yeah.
will, hey,
Yeah.
it's
That's
any
fair.
interest, of course. So it's like, anybody can have that. And this was a good made film, and I definitely see the strong points in it, even if like the negatives, as I said, are that just and like even then, it's like I get why they did it. They had to have that flavor to show us that both Chris and JC are like the outsiders. Of course, they're the bullied, they're getting picked on or whatnot. Even if like they go and initiate, hey, we want to be a part of this sorority, and it doesn't work out. But it's just like I get it. That definitely is a give that you're going to have for this. And again, there's a research facility that has a corpse from 27 years ago in there. I not taking it seriously, but it's like, okay, that's what we're given. That's like this for the sake of the story to be told.
Yeah, and we open up with the non sequitur in a way, the spaceship. Like, whoa, what's this weird sci-fi stuff? And then it's gone. It really doesn't come back to the end.
Yeah,
Which, when I think about it, I guess they had a little bit of a trend of doing that in the 80s. The Thing, the John Carpenter one, opened up that way. We see a spaceship.
that's true.
And same with the Predator. The Predator the following year did the same thing. But this time we actually get to see what's on the ship.
And in a way, the comet in the beginning of Night of the Comet kind of does that as well.
The fair, yep. There's something from space showing up and causing some trouble.
Yes.
Oh, and I forgot this note. Maybe one day we'll cover Critters. But I saw Critters after this, but I've seen Critters more often, more recently, over the past 6, 7 years. For some reason, I've just gone back to that movie a lot, even though it's really not very good. But so whenever I watch the opening of this, I'm just thinking of Critters, and I just want to watch that movie again. Again, I don't know why. It's really not a very good movie. I don't know why I guess it feeds off a lot of my childhood interests, and so it just I got a lot of affection for it. But yeah, do you feel like we've come around to mostly the end of this discussion? Are we ready for the final thoughts segment?
I won't let this, be any longer. I don't want to artificially extend this. I'm perfectly fine leaving the conversation where it is, and will be pulling my hair out when I said, "You forgot to talk about this, you knucklehead."
It's fair.
Months later, excuse me, when I listened to this.
But yeah, would you like to lead, or would you prefer if I kicked off the final thoughts segment?
Oh, by all means, please. No, this is your series.
Yeah, I think I pretty much already said it. Oh, there's actually one thing I didn't mention earlier. One of the things that pulled me to this, especially in my early making that list of movies I wanted to check out, I was not just writing in, kind of alphabetically organizing, okay, these movies I want to buy. I was organizing them also in terms of these fall under genres or movements of things that I'm interested in. Like something like, oh, I want to watch a bunch of zombie movies. And I was big into zombies in the aughts, in the early 10s. Actually, it was starting to fade out by the early 10s because they started to get kind of bad. But definitely in the aughts, I was huge into zombies. And so anything I could get my hands on with zombies in it, I was there. And this movie was on that, on that list of ones I had to see. And I appreciate movies that take the zombies in a little bit of a different direction. That it's not just The Walking Dead; they have a little bit more of a twist to them. And this movie has that, so I think that's fun. And I like seeing all these 80s college kids all dressed up, looking all dapper and fancy, and they're just all bloody and zombied up. I think that's a cool look. And overall, I'll definitely keep coming back to this movie. Tom Atkins, I think, just is a ton of fun here. As someone who has a lot of affection for that guy, for his roles in Creepshow and in Halloween 3, this one's a big standout for him. So that's always nice. And it's just a lighthearted, fun little movie that I can just pop on and watch in the background and just have a good time. But how about over to you, Isaac, for your final thoughts?
This one is a recommend from me. Please, all you ladies and gentlemen between and an affiliate, go watch this upon my recommendation. Perhaps you won't like it. Maybe our conversation was a turnoff to you instead. Fair enough, but yeah, no, I'd like this, and maybe I'll go back to it one day.
Nice. And I guess I'll do a little bit of rundown before we exit out of the bar here for today. For this series, Scream with a Smile, we're covering 4 flicks. I guess sort of 5, considering I re-uploaded Night of the Comet right before this, so it kind of fits in.
That's a prequel.
A prequel, exactly. But it's going to be 4 films. It's going to be Night of the Comet, Night of the Creeps, Chopping Mall, Fright Night, and Return of the Living Dead. But the order of those 2 in the middle, Chopping Mall and Fright Night, I'm not exactly sure. I might swap Fright Night before or after, because at least for Chopping Mall, I definitely want to have on Sean and Eric for that. We actually tried to book it, I don't know, what was it, like 2 or 3 months after we did Night of the Comet? We had put together our Chopping Mall episode, but it just fell apart.
This was in like April or May we were going to do it, and it just never came about.
Yeah, it was like the day of, and suddenly it collapsed. And I had hoped to put it together sooner, but eventually I just realized, like, oh, I guess it's gonna have to be saved for Halloween. So whenever I'm able to book that, that's when it'll show up on this list. But I'm definitely hoping to do it before we do Return of the Living Dead, because that's kind of the one I want to end on. But either way, if you haven't checked out these flicks, check them out beforehand. Chopping Mall, I've been trying to get on this podcast from our very early days, all the way back on 2018, or during 2018. I was saying, like, we got to cover Chopping Mall. So the fact that we're finally getting to it is a pretty big deal for me. And Fright Night I've not seen in many, many years, but I know that that's very much beloved, and I have fond memories of it, but I really don't remember it at all. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it.
I remember it now. It was in March. We were trying to record it in March, and it was a no-go.
Yeah, so hopefully this time it'll definitely be a go, because I'm hoping to have Sean and Eric on it. If it doesn't work out, I guess we could do it just the 2 of us, but I think that'd be a shame for that one. But we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm more than happy to be here. I love the Halloween season. I'm always happy to pull out some horror flicks. And of course, once we're done this 4-part series, oh boy, I'm curious to see what Isaac's going to pull out in the end for his Halloween pick. I'm always excited to see what he's got hidden in his sleeve.
Oh, right. I gotta do that. Whoops.
Oh, maybe not hidden yet.
Proceeds to procrastinate. I got Christmas lined up this year.
Hey, I'm pumped for that too. I always love our Christmas specials. I think Eric has something picked out for us too this year.
Ooh, well, his has to come first.
But before we can get to Christmas, yeah, I guess we'll see what comes out next week. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to that recording. And thank you once again, Isaac, for joining me for another podcast.
Pleasure is all mine, my friend. Thank you as well for discussing this film with me. I definitely enjoyed it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, those between and affiliate, for listening to us discuss this film. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was intellectually stimulating. Maybe it was just a joke, a gaggle of laughs, potentially, or you were just listening into it in the background as you were doing your chores. Till next time, those aliens have returned. They're going to find the Axeman, stick a bunch of the Knolls into him, and create this very weird amalgamation of Knoll Axeman that just throws like tentacles and tendrils of Knolls around and does stuff for them. Till next time, peace.